My name is Richard Malone. I'm the artist in residence responding to Giacometti from Life at the National Gallery of Ireland. The most exciting thing for me about other artists is when you build up a language that's immediately identifiable. So I think seeing the process from biro work and pencil work and how it threads through, and that exact same hand being represented in 3D form or in process, in repetition. His fascination and focus on gesture and characterization. I think that was something that I really recognized in terms of a marriage between our two worlds. I had 8 weeks in the gallery in the Millennium Studio, and it's called Knot, Bind, Gesture, Bend, and they are a selection of words that felt descriptive but not formulaic, or they're not they're not a romanticized title. They respond, I guess, to sort of different ways of making, and that was something that I was really conscious of being in the gallery, is like being a queer person and what the language of that is, what the language of female art is that's missing from the gallery, and what, not necessarily missing, but maybe you don't see it or it's not been traditionally celebrated as fine art or a fine art practice. And I think weaving that into the show felt really important. And so the whole show is really based around techniques that I use day to day or that I've learned, and there's a mixture of those. There's like very observational worlds that I grew up with are quite masculine things like building site materials and on building sites, different colors, things that you become very responsive to when you're young. And then kind of female-led spaces where it's about texture, textiles, stitch, weave, embroidery, beading, all of those things. And then I think marrying them and making like a very honest, communicative show that is those two worlds, but it is also something else. And it's not a direct representative to them. It's kind of respecting both of them as a practice or a way of making. And they're very beautiful. And I think in terms of like even the language of class in galleries, like those ways of making that are very intimate, or they're often looked at as outsider art, they're the things that I grew up with that I really consider art, because I can see the person in them and you can see the stitch in them. And that became very important to me, to kind of allow those be abstracted or to be used or to give sort of center stage in a show like this.